So tonight I really wanted to just meet up and so I'll try and actually present somehow. Tonight I just wanted to meet up and chat through some of the kind of finer details of some of the ProPresenter options that we have and really just start a conversation, I guess, about improving what we do in the multimedia land. And there's obviously a few parts to that. Some of it's lyrical, some of it's graphic, some of it's themes, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So we can kind of go into as much depth as we want to, especially because it's a smaller group. What I am doing, I am recording this Google Meet call and also my YouTube stream so that I can put them together, at least audio-wise and my video, so that we can get some kind of context about how this conversation went down, and I can put it up for viewing later for other team members. So just so you know, that's happening. So I guess probably what I want to put forward first is for those who haven't done a lot of ProPresenter, a lot of multimedia. So like Trevor and David, obviously, ProPresenter is a software that we use. It's currently version 7, and this is version 7 that we're looking at. And what that has done for us is actually open up a whole range of new possibilities in terms of like adding integrations into ProPresenter if we want to in the future, and made a whole bunch of the integrations that we're currently using free. So that's really cool. But it's also been a ground up rebuild of the interface. So that has meant that the Windows version that we're using right now and the Mac version is basically the same thing. But it's also changed our workflow on a regular Sunday as well. And I was thinking about it, and I think it's actually changed it for the better. I don't know, Tim and Simo, you can probably jump in and say if you agree there or not.
Yeah, it definitely has made it more, I guess, easier to understand where everything is. Yeah.
And I especially love on the right hand side here of the display, these squares which are clearing each layer of information. That is the layer that ProPresenter handles that content in. So if you think about it in terms of like sheets of paper, the lowest sheet of paper is the video input. Then the next one on top of it is media. Then the next one on top of it they call slide. Then the next one on top of it is announcements. Then props, then messages, and then audio. So you can have something on all 7 of those layers, and it will show all of that depending on what transparencies are available and all that kind of thing. You can clear one particular layer, or you can clear all of them at once. So when we say clear the slides or clear the lyrics, we're specifically talking about that one layer. If we say clear background, we're talking about clearing the media layer. Does that make sense for everyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a little bit like a visual playlist.
Yeah, I wouldn't think about it too much in terms of a playlist, because we're going to talk about playlists, or we use playlists within ProPresenter. It's more like a hierarchy. I like to think of it like paper, where it's like a stack of paper, and if you look at the top, you can see the top thing.
Yeah.
I'd also like to think of it as transparent paper to some extent, because if there's room, you could, literally, as you said, you could display all of it simultaneously.
Correct. Yeah, like a OHP.
Yeah, but if the top layer takes up the whole of the screen, you won't see any of the others. Yeah,
that's right. And obviously, not all of this, like the audio layer, obviously doesn't have any image on it, but it's still on the top layer. Yeah. So that's just kind of the fly-by-wire for ProPresenter, and the actual interface helps us manage all of that. So probably the main thing that I wanted to talk about is our lyric presentation, including phrasing, fonts, and copyright. And then we'll talk a little bit about like the visuals as well. And I've got a interview or kind of a conversation interview thing with Steph to play. But let's hit some hard stuff straight up, eh?
Let's do it.
Rather than dilly dallying.
Hard stuff.
So here's my philosophy, and I've explained this to everyone, I think, at some point, but it's worth reinstating at every opportunity, I feel. Here's my hierarchy for lyrical presentation. We need to be able to read the lyrics. Then we need to be able to read them in the correct order. So the phrasing needs to be correct. Then we can make it pretty. In that order of priority. So if we can't make it pretty, we at least need to make the phrasing right and put it in a font that's recognizable. So therefore, if our baseline of can you read this text is messed up, then that's the first thing that needs to get fixed. If the phrasing is bad, but it looks pretty, fix the phrasing. And so from a service reducer perspective, these are the things that I'm looking at, is like, oh, that phrasing was weird. A spelling mistake, for example, I would class that as in, can you read it? That's like, it's spelt wrong, so I'm going to say the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So
that's a bit of a cardinal sin, isn't it? Having a spelling mistake come up on the...
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And
sometimes it doesn't happen. You can go there and still say the same word.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
You could. Well, if you're going from somewhere like, say, the chorus or something, and you see a spelling mistake on the fly, you can go there, go to the next lyric, change it, and then come back to. If they're going back to the beginning of the chorus, change it, go back, and it looks all right. But
yeah, but that's still fixing it after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So everything that we do, like we look at all of these production aspects as I see them all in the same vein. Like it's all worship, it's all a skill, and it's all things that we can get better at and practice better at as well. So I think rehearsals are a key time for us because we've got a 25-minute window there while sound check is going on. We're not doing anything in multimedia land, so that's our opportunity to run through our lyrics really quick, just make sure everything's okay, and really fix up any of those fine details.
Do you have two people kind of proofreading, or just the one?
Just the one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's a big responsibility for us to roll into from now in terms of increasing the level to which we know our songs, especially new songs.
Yeah.
Because honestly, a poor lyrical presentation of a new song tanks it.
Yeah.
The band can perform it really well. The music can be really, really good, but what we're doing is putting out a worship service that we want people to engage with. We want people to join in, and if we can't even sing along to the lyrics, what was the point? You know, and that's the responsibility of the multimedia operator. That is the level to which we need to act. Is we actually are one of the key stakeholders in a worship event's success. So while we worship, we're also facilitating other people's worship, and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any thoughts on that before I ramble on to something else?
Do we have a a set space in terms of the amount of lyric that can fit on a given? I gather it's a third screen.
Yeah. So at the moment, it's a lower third, but I haven't felt the need to change how much text we're putting on screen, because we still, in the best case scenario, assuming that everything is fine, we're still, whether we're in the auditorium or at home, we're still making lyrics that are easy to follow and easy to read. So I haven't felt the need to increase or decrease. I know some churches are just like slapping it up there, and that's one way to go. But I want to encourage us to be really intentional about what we're doing in all areas. So why don't we have a look at some songs? I have
just
kind of
fill me in on one thing. So if we got a lower third, if you put more than what's required on a given slide, does it shrink the font?
No, it just cuts it off basically. No. If you put too much lyric on the so many lines, and you have it in one in that one lower third, it'll just cut off whatever the remaining words are on there.
Okay, thanks, Jim. I just wanted to know before I, because I haven't actually used something like this, different manufacturer or whatever, but the more you put in, they just kept on shrinking the font to make it fit.
Right.
Yeah. So you can see on the stream there, this is, I just quickly duplicated our live stream template. And this is the text field that we have to operate within. I'm at about 59 or 60 Gill Sans with a 2-stroke black font.
Mm-hmm. You always use the same text? The same font, I mean, sorry.
Yes. We have changed it from time to time, and depending on the visual styling that we want to go for. It was actually my call a little while ago to go to Gill Sans. I really like the way that Gill Sans presents on screens, and I think it's a nice classic one without being like Helvetica or anything like that. I have very strong opinions about fonts, but I think Gill Sans is working really well for us at the moment. It's very clear in a lot of different types of viewing mediums. But to Trevor's point, we can go vertically as many lines as we can up until it reaches this this text box limit, and then it will start cutting off vertically. We can also go left to right as far as we want before it starts cutting off. So we could potentially fit like 4 or 5 lines in that text box right now. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yep.
That's 60-point font.
Approximately, yeah. I can't remember what it is.
Is that the lowest font size you go?
60? Not necessarily. Again, this is contextual. I think we have not changed it since we started streaming. And I was thinking about it the other day. We could probably go a little bit smaller because the context changes. We're no longer outputting to the screens. We're outputting to a device which is like held in your face, or it's a big TV in your living room. So very likely we could, I don't know, go down to a 40, 45, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I've always thought 45 was kind of the minimum that you should use for display. But yeah, I think you're right. Most people can read that quite okay.
Yeah,
45 is not too bad.
And for our screens in the auditorium, I found 45 too small, which is why we're going to 60. But again, it's that thing, like it's the different context. So yes. So let's have a look at some songs. Let's start off with a really straightforward one, as far as I can tell. So I've got songs select hooked up here, and let's have a look at See the Light. Let's wait for the stream to catch up.
We've only got a few See the Lights, have we?
Yeah, that's right. So actually, here's the first one. How do you know which See the Light it is, right?
Yeah.
Normally it's going to be the first one. Normally, but not always.
Not always.
What is helpful is if we do.
Obviously, no one can see the light in that one.
if we do a Google search for Silverlight CCLI, we can drill down a little bit, and eventually, if we decide that this is the one that we want, you can actually search for this song ID, for the song number.
Okay.
So if I copy that and
they're there. Okay.
paste it into song select, now I only have that one item available. And that is not the song that I want.
Yeah, no.
But you can see, like, if you can also use like Google search and specifically tagging CCLI to drill down into the exact song item, like the exact song number that you want.
And that's pulling it out of our library of songs which have already been done.
No, that's pulling it out of the song select CCLI library. So my library over on the left here is entirely empty. I have not done a single thing on this.
So how does it suddenly end up with the right amount of words per?
Yeah, so let's do that now. So this is the See the Light that I want. This preview is showing us the default import format. So it's going to give me 4 lines per slide at the moment, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I want that theme. I want it to be that resolution. Yeah. Cool. Import. And so with no editing, this is what we get. First job is to add a new slide.
Yep.
The copyright.
Exactly. Delete that so that we can get copyright. We'll talk about copyright in more detail in a sec. So what we want to do now is reflow this this text so that I'm just going to increase that text size so we can see it properly. Just go back up. There we go. So reflowing this is quite easy at the moment because it's a very straightforward song. If we, how can I do that? I was going to get us to listen to the song. That might be a bit hard. So See the Light is broken up into sets of 4 lines, which can be easily split into sets of 2 lines.
Mm-hmm.
So arise my soul, pause, remember this, pause. How do I do this on Windows? He took my sin, pause, and he buried it, pause. No longer I who live, pause. Now Jesus lives in me, pause. Where I was dead in sin, but I woke up to see the light, pause.
What are you actually doing to reflow that?
Control Enter, or I think it's Alt Enter on Mac.
Yeah.
And so very quickly we can get this song basically sorted out. Rise my soul, remember this. He took my sin and he buried it. No longer I who live, now Jesus lives in me. I was dead in sin, but I woke up to see the light. So that is totally a suitable. I would be happy with that in terms of reflowing. That is as simple as it gets. All we needed to do is take that 4-line verse and chorus and split it into 2.
Why didn't you just leave it in 4? If 4 can fit on that slide.
Because by the time that we get, let me just undo some stuff. By the time that we get a person behind there, it starts to really encroach on the actual like core of the visual stamp that we want to make, which is the worship. our core visual stamp at that point is not the lyrics. That should be supporting the worship, and it should be clear such that you can read it, but not so that it's overtaking the entire kind of visual frame. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a question of balance, really.
Yeah. No, that's good.
It's a good question, though.
So you're thinking it's mainly for streaming rather than what we'd normally do on the Sunday with just the lyrics on the, which is totally different, really, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah. But even then, I would still rather see 2 or 3 lines. That's kind of the limit that we want to be hitting. One is okay sometimes, depending on context, but usually 2 or 3 is really about where we want to hit. For like upbeat fast songs, that means that there's a fair bit of clicking. But it helps the congregation member follow along with the song more easily.
Yeah.
Because you're not. Yeah.
Providing we're doing our job, otherwise they don't follow along real well.
Absolutely, yeah. We don't want to overwhelm with information, but we want to provide the right information at the right time.
Yeah. I've seen Hillsong do some with just one word at a time.
That's right, yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Can we do that?
Hopefully that's for only items, right? I would imagine.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's like following the bouncing ball, that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So see the light's super easy. 2 lots of 2 lines per verse, 2 lots of 2 lines per chorus, done. A bit of a harder one might be No One But You.
So it has different colours for verse, chorus, etc.
Yeah, correct. It automatically tags those.
It automatically does it.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. So this is a bit of a longer one. Let's import it. Same template. That's all good. So we'll do the same thing. We'll add a new slide and delete the text. So here we go. Just let me remind myself. So this is lyrically, this one is like, who can melt the hardest heart and speak life into my soul? Who can spin the world around and hold me ever close? Who can search the depths of me? So this is a similar format, at least in verse
It's
1.
Two lines again.
That's right. No one but you, no one but you. This is going to be the same. Who has made the right, who has paid my way with grace?
Pause.
Okay, so what's that called? Post-chorus.
Yeah, it needs the 3 lines on that first one. Post-chorus one.
So I'll sing of your love. I just can't get enough. I just want you.
Yeah.
Now there's an argument to be made that could say 2 and 1.
Yeah.
And that might feel like, where is it? I'll sing of your love. I can't get enough. I just want you. And then the Lord of my soul, King of my heart, Jesus, it's you. Because that I just want you, and Jesus, it's you. They're like ending that section. Do you know what I mean? So that could go either way. If I was running lyrics, I would probably do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get this massive block. Sorry, Jim, what were you going to say?
I was going to point out with the size of the lyrics and everything with that bridge, that first one. See how most of the text is getting cut off via the start of the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can fit like 4.5 lines on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so this needs work. Let me just have a quick listen. I've got the videos open. Where is it?
Hmm.
Yeah, so this is like, hear the oceans roar, hear the skies light up, every heart now sing to the Lord. Hear the rocks cry out, see the mountains bow, every heart come worship the Lord.
You can go 2-2-2 on that.
2-2-2. So that's hear the oceans roar, see the skies light up, every heart now sing to the Lord. So
See that?
in a similar way to the way that I just want you and Jesus it's you is closing that phrase, like it's closing that musical phrase. I would say that sing to the Lord and worship the Lord are actually closing that phrase. So the way that I would structure this is 3 and 1. 3 and 1. Hear the sky, hear the oceans roar, see the skies light up, every heart now sing to the Lord. So it's closing that section. Similar there. Agree or disagree?
Fine.
Cool.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, so it's that question of like making that it's somewhere between like a technical and a musical and a visual decision, right?
Yeah.
And one's sort of right, but the other one's sort of like slightly more right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. And then it comes down to timing to make that flow really work. Yeah. No one but you, no one but you, no one but you, Lord. Oh, Lord but you. That one's fairly straightforward. All right, next one is My Testimony. This is obviously a new song, which, like we were saying, is super important to get right.
Yep.
And especially with such a wordy song as well. So we'll make the new... Now, Tim, you had a weird one with My Testimony, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a hard time just trying to figure out where they were ending the lines and then the verses and going to the next verse. So what I did was basically put the first two on one screen, and then the next two, and then with verse 1.
Yeah.
And then on verse 2, what I did was did 2-2-1. That's what I did.
2-2-1.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me just remind myself.
Yeah, because I remember who was Lockie. Was it Lockie that did something completely different for the PM?
Yeah. Oh no, me. I did.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
it was me.
You did. I know what you did. You did 1, but having the last word at the bottom. Correct?
I think it was this, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, like that. Yeah. So it'd be 1 and then cut that in half, put it onto another screen.
Yeah. So I guess the reason I did it that way is because these are such text-heavy songs, like or this song in particular is so text-heavy. I was feeling as I was running through the set that I was getting overwhelmed with the amount of text on the screen, even with the format that you had originally put down.
Yeah.
So I felt it would be helpful. So the if we have a look at this verse, all of this text is just for verse 1. So it's a very lyrically dense song.
Yeah.
And you need to sing it really, really fast. It's like, I saw Satan fall like lightning. I saw darkness run for color. And if you don't know the song, having all of that just like slapped in your face straight up once is too much.
Yeah.
So Tim initially split it, which is good, and then in the PM service, I split it even further, so that I did this. I saw Satan fall like lightning. I saw darkness run for cover.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, what we have for the live stream is no fade time.
Yeah. Which
means that I saw Satan fall like lightning. I saw darkness run for cover. And so if you change slide before the line finishes,
yeah.
the person singing along at home knows what's coming up and can read the next lyric. So that's what I was saying before. Timing is really important. So I saw Satan fall like lightning. I saw darkness run for cover. But the miracle, yeah, I'm not going to sing too much.
Do you normally have some type of fade time between them, or is it quick cut?
We did, but now because it's live streamed, it's better to have it cut. The words cut instead of a fade.
Yeah. Do you remember what our fade is, Tim? Nolan?
It was either when it was on the screen, it was either 0.5 or 0.6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sorry, 0.5 or 0.4. Sorry.
0.4.
Might as well be
Yeah.
cut. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's noticeable, but because of the way that the black and alpha layers interact in the TriCaster, it's better to have it cut. It just looks nicer.
Yeah.
Without too much impact on the actual delivery of the service. So yeah, because we don't have that fade, we can shorten the amount of text on screen even in these faster songs, as long as you hit your mark every single time. And you'll see as
any reason you decided to double up, why not just have it as one line? I saw Satan fall like lightning is one line.
However, there's two phrasing sections in there, and through the intonation of the song and the way that the singers really press certain words and certain syllables within that song, it's reasonably clear that there are two sections. So it's really, and this is where we need to know our songs.
Need to know what?
Need to know our songs.
Where we really need to know our songs. We should, as
we need to know our songs.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
This is where the multimedia team really needs to know the songs, especially new songs. I think at this point in life, it's kind of not good enough to rock up on a Sunday and be listening to the song for the first time during rehearsal. That's as hard as it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's where we need to get to as a team. Something I'm working on as well.
So do you have a, during the week, you have a prep where everybody listens to the songs? Is that how you do it?
Nope. And I'm not going to institute something like that because it's the same thing. Like, I wouldn't expect a guitarist to have a listen party to have a listen to the song. I wouldn't expect a front of house engineer to have a listen.
As far as El Banto goes, it tells you the new songs, and these are the ones you got to learn, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
Sorry,
that's right.
You wouldn't expect other people to learn them before they come to church?
No. I would not expect, just taking a guitarist as an example, I would not expect that person to require a group listening party in order to learn the song. So I wouldn't ever institute something like that for production. I would say, in your own preparation time.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm
not
suggesting a group one. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because with audio, we listen to all the songs before and write notes and everything and have a really good listen to them before we get there during the week. So I would expect maybe something similar. You get your song list, you go right through them, have a real good listen to them, and maybe do this exercise at home.
yeah, I think it has not been explicit, but it is something that I'm going to start pressing towards more.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
Have you ever used the Pro Presenter as a non-licensed thing at home? What I'm trying to work out is whether I can actually use the stream template at home, get the songs at home, pre-do the stuff at home, and then come ready to go.
You can do that.
Yeah, I haven't tried it in 7. It's worth playing with, I think.
I'm just thinking whether if that happened, a lot of the doing this on the fly, then you can just be checking your work rather than trying to actually edit your work during rehearsal. It puts you in another place again.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think these are the steps that we need to be taking in improving our multimedia preparation midweek, really. Where right now we're at 0. Realistically.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I thought you were pretty good. No.
Basically 0.
Okay.
On the whole.
I love it.
Yeah. So the phrasing that we were talking about before becomes really clear in the chorus, I think, in this song. Because we could just as easily, so we always take out repeats and brackets because they're just not necessary. And you could just as easily, like we were saying before, we could split this in 2 and just do, this is my testimony from death to life because Grace wrote my story, I'll testify. Like that would be a suitable, to some degree, a suitable little template there. But really, what it is this is my testimony, slight pause.
That's not the phrase.
From death to life. Take out the punctuation, because Grace wrote my story, I'll testify. So that's a bit more of an extreme pulling apart of those phrases, but it is actually happening earlier in the verses as well. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. And he does actually repeat it at all times. So, oops. So doing it that way would make sense. This is my testimony. This is my testimony.
Does he actually say it only twice, does he? I thought he said it more than that.
Yeah, he says it twice at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And the benefit of doing it this way is if he repeats that section again, we can just leave this is my testimony up, and it you just sing it again. Is there anything weird? I don't think there's anything else weird in this song. Probably like the bridge. If I'm not dead, you're not done. Oops.
Anyway, that's what I did. Yeah.
Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. Yeah. And that's fairly straightforward, but it's always worth putting those things up. One thing that I have noticed that is worth pointing out. So let's just imagine we split these up. Something that is very easy to do is leave the spaces.
Leave what? Space.
So leave the spaces. So just press enter and don't get rid of the space right here or right here. Or even it might end up here. So to illustrate what that does, I'm just going to repeat some lyrics.
Well, it won't justify center, so it'll push stuff off to one side or the other.
Correct. So hopefully you can see that.
Yeah.
This is not going to break a person's immersion, but what it does do is it's such an easy thing to fix, and it's such an easy thing to look out for, and it just reduces that quality level by 1 degree. You know, And if we're wanting to excel at the gifts and the things that we're serving in, like I think that's a reasonable thing to be like, all right, I just always need to check for it, you know. And so much is in the detail. One of my favorite design quotes, I can't remember who says it, but it's like one of the only things I remember from uni back in the day, was a couple of years ago, was some people say that the details obscure the design. No, the details are your design. So if you've got the big picture all sorted, focus on the detail, because that's what it is that makes your design unique. And things like adding spaces, forgetting to even like leaving a little enter there, that entirely changes how that lyric is displayed on the screen. So all these like paragraph marks and all that, like that, they totally matter. All right. Well, that's feeling like a pretty good place to have a little pause. Does anyone have any thoughts on reflowing lyrics, or any questions that aren't clear about kind of what my expectations are, maybe, or some specific questions there?
Only one I want was, how did you create your first slide again, the blank one? You duplicated a slide, but it's like, almost like sleight of hand how you did it.
Oh,
I
sure.
can't see what you're touching.
Yeah, true. I'm holding control and I'm dragging, and I can just duplicate those. Yeah.
So where's your template that you bring up each time? Where do you grab that from?
So in themes, we've got various categories of themes, and within those categories, various themes. But the one that I'm using at the moment is live stream, and I call it live stream similar. I just tried to duplicate the one that we've got in the auditorium. And so you can apply any of these templates to a song. Let's go No One But You. Theme, I want, here we go.
Ooh.
Look at that, pretty.
Ooh.
Pretty ugly. I think it'd be Dave. It'd be saying something about that long before.
That's interesting, though.
That went to the live stream.
I think I would be saying something.
Yeah.
If you were there.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can apply these themes to any song that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. Any other questions?
The only other thing is, when you set me up the other week, those songs didn't need to be reflowed. Is that just because they didn't need to be reflowed, or we'd already saved them somewhere else?
Right. So because that wasn't the first time that we sung it, some reflowing, I would expect the reflowing to already be done.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, we don't always get it right. So at every time that you boot up Multimedia, you need to check the flow of the song.
But it does actually store it locally somewhere, what you reflowed. Yeah.
So while we've got See the Light, we've got all these various versions of See the Light. In my local library, I only have one, because that is the one that I imported.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking at the cloud repository. I'm looking at the local library. All right. So let's have a quick little break. I've got a 10-minute little discussion with Steph. So why don't we have a watch of that and reconvene? Sound good?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Hey again, everyone. I've got with me Steph Willis, who is our comms and events manager at Nexus. You'll have obviously seen her for quite a few years and in various roles, I think, through the time.
Doing lots of different things.
Reception.
Yeah, I've done reception. I used to be a youth leader, been on the worship team.
Worship, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the last few years, been doing comms and events. So Steph and I work quite closely on getting a lot of the media together for some of our larger events, but also just for Sunday services and trying to improve our kind of visual stamp over time.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about some of that?
So Andy and I have been talking about lots of different things, and we often chat about how to make things better, like you're saying. And I guess I just wanted to share sort of my goals when I look at our visuals on a Sunday and through our events and everything like that. And the lens that I look at everything through, which is maybe a little bit different to the lens that you have or what you're thinking about when you're like operating and popping things up. So my goal for everything with Sundays in particular, they're the main thing we obviously work on, but my main kind of goal is I want everything to be cohesive. And that's probably the biggest word that I use. I probably overuse it, but I want all the designs that we get from our graphic designers. I want the things that we create like at the desk. I want even the staging or props that we would put on stage, you know, during a Q&A or whatever. I want it to all feel cohesive. And
like Nexus, right?
Yeah, and have a particular feel. And like we do have a particular style, and how it's come to be over the years is who even knows, but we do have a style and a flavour, and I think it's warm and inviting and all those things. It's not flashy, but it's also not hodgepodge or like messy either. So I want everything to be cohesive, and so I think I was thinking about it, the easiest way to describe cohesive for me is like seamless and like subtle. It's almost like unobvious. So when I look at anything that our team design or anything that pops up on stage, I think that comes across with even lighting and everything like that is I don't want anything to be so obvious that it draws your attention from what is happening on stage. So while Pastor Nathan's preaching, I don't want people to be looking in the back and being like, that's just an amazing design, don't you think? Like, what a cool center screen that is. Or when they're worshipping, I don't want them to be thinking, oh, what a great font, I love that. I just want them to be fully immersed in the experience.
Because that's not the thing that's on the screen isn't the main thing that's happening.
No.
Basically ever, right?
Almost never.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when we have a feature piece, of course it is, and we bring in creativity just for creativity's sake.
Yeah.
But mostly everything we do, everything that you do, everything that I do is to support the preacher, the worship, or whatever's happening on stage. And so I think my approach is like make it cohesive, a part of it. Like if there's a theme in place, work with that, roll with that. But if you don't really know what that is or work with, the goal is just like less is more. Like if you don't know how to enhance the atmosphere, just make sure you don't detract from it. And so
I think that's actually one of the hardest things to do with anything visual.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, it just doesn't feel right. I'll just add this little bit.
Yeah.
I'll just add this little bit.
Yeah.
I'll just add this little bit. And then all of a sudden you've got like this filigreed like
and it shouldn't, when I look at the stage on a Sunday, I shouldn't be like, oh, there's the great lighting design. Oh, there's the great side screen. Oh, there's the great outfit that, because all these things, all the visuals matter. There's the great outfit that Pastor Nathan's wearing. There's the great plant we decided to put in the background. Like all those things, I shouldn't actually notice any of those set things. Or I should just be like, what a great service. I should just, and it's hard when we're the people who do the specific things that make a great service. And I'm so one of those people.
Yeah, if you're detail oriented.
Yeah, I'm one of those people where I'm like, it's not quite right, let's add another thing. It's not quite right, we add another thing. And then I'm like, oh, too many things. So I would freely admit that's not like a skill of mine. So I always go for the approach like less is more. If I have to make a graphic, like I don't usually make most of our graphics, but if I have to make a graphic, I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. It's going to be an image with just some text overlay. I'm going to stick with one font that I know is our church font, and I'm going to keep it, like I know that's not my skill to layer things and make them like real fancy and professional, so I just keep it simple. So I would say if you don't know how to add to that atmosphere, just do your best to keep it from detracting from whatever's happening on stage. And I think knowing, it's tricky because we have our own little things, but this isn't our moment to shine. Like, it's not our moment to be like, I'm going to make the best ever, like, PowerPoint, and that's going to be the highlight of the service. People shouldn't notice or feel like I do a bit of emceeing, like obviously for church, but I've emceed a wedding or two or things. And I think you always have gone to those weddings where the MC is like, this is my moment to shine.
Right,
and they're like, I'm here to make my comedy debut. The best MC is one you forget.
Yeah.
And you don't even notice that they're there. They just help move the service along. And I think that's what all our... if we can't add, we can't enhance, then our role is to be almost invisible, just make it seamless and flow. So I think that's my kind of passion in that space.
I think that lines up really nicely with like production generally.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy as a whole for production is like we're not there to be noticed. We're there to serve and do the work. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that we bring that in worship, but that we shouldn't detract from anyone else's worship experience. And in fact, what we should be doing is enhancing other people's worship experience.
Absolutely.
Because you just imagine like having a typo on screen, like we'll be talking about this at some point. I don't know when I'm going to put this video, but having a typo on screen is actually a really big deal because it might detract from someone's worship experience of the whole thing.
And when you have like the center screen glitching or something like that, it detracts because especially someone who's easily distracted is like, oh, what's happening with that screen? Like, oh, something's not right there. Is that off-centered? I think it's off-centered.
Yeah.
And some people don't, there's going to be people who never notice those things. They aren't our target. They're going to have an experience no matter what. No matter what we do. Like, we could put nothing up and they'll be like, wow, that's just such a great, everything's so wonderful. And you're like, cool, those people are fine on their own. Our goal is to help those who are more likely to get distracted or who are looking for any excuse to maybe like disengage for whatever reason. Our role is to either enhance or to just allow there to be as little distraction as possible. And
I think like it is one of those things that can just get blown out of proportion a little bit. It's like I think you and I are probably the most like finely honed for noticing those kinds of things. Like, I'll just be like, did you do that?
And a lot of other team won't even notice. Like, they'll be like, oh, what thing that happened? And we'll be like, oh, how did you not see that weird thing that happened with the screen or that weird thing?
That one little glitch. Like,
or even words we notice, you and I as well. That's a whole other thing. But we'll be like, oh, that phrase that so-and-so uses all the time. We notice those things.
But some congregation members could actually take that to a pretty extreme place. That we just want to try and make everyone feel comfortable and welcome.
I think it's good. And look for ways that you can grow in your knowledge and understanding of that. Like, there's little things, you might feel that the role is like, oh, I pop the words up on the screen or whatever, but you do a lot more than that without realising because there's such power in that specific role. Like, you literally bring the words of the worship song to people's to life. Like, they don't know what to sing unless you bring it to them. And so put real like weight behind what you do. Like, it's actually really important how you bring those words to them. They need to be clear and easy to read. They need to be typed well. They need to, like, all those things because every word has weight to it. So I think take it seriously and like do a little bit of like playing around, like come in and be like, oh, that does look good, that doesn't look good. If you don't know what does or doesn't look good, just like ask somebody. You can do some research into like colours and all sorts of different things. Like, use it as an opportunity to be like, oh, what I do has real value and merit, and it has the potential to do a lot of good, but also the potential to be really distracting or whatever. So I'm going to do it to the best of my ability and learn and grow. And like, I'm happy to sit with anyone. Find me, I'm here most services if you need to be like, oh, I'm just thinking of making this call, what do you think? And I'm happy to give, I love giving my opinion. But like, we're happy to be like, oh, no, actually I love that, maybe not this, like, let's just all grow and learn together.
Totally. And I think that's a good point, like upskilling a little bit. One of the things that I want to bring to the team at some point in the near future is some more like basics of graphic design. And colour theory and things like that. Like, I've talked about that a little bit with lighting, but I think now's the time for Multi to really step it up in that
I think there's little things you just don't know until you know them. And like, I did a really basic graphic design course, I can't remember what it was, maybe 2 years ago, because I work with graphic designers all the time. And in part it was so I could learn to do a few things myself, but in part it was also to understand the terminology that they use so I could communicate with them on that level. It was also so that I learnt why things did or didn't look good. So I was like, oh, there needs to be more space around those words. And I just from trial and error, I was like, oh, when the words are this close together, or not centered there, things look weird. And I just learnt those things from like having a go at stuff. So yeah, I think
And
that's important.
If you don't know,
you don't know them. But yeah, and I think that's been my advice. If you don't know how to make it better, just keep it simple. But let's slowly then work to be like, okay, how could I make it better?
Yeah.
So
well, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
No worries.
Yeah, let's go home. We recorded this like an hour and a half ago. So
it's time to
so,
it's been a big day. Tuesday's been such a big day.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're ready to go home.
All right, thanks, Steph.
Thank you.
Bye.
All back to normal?
Well, I'm mute.
Yep.
No.
Not all of us.
Only
Not all of us.
the first Andy had a dog. Second Andy didn't have a dog.
I just heard dog barking. I just muted the whole window. I was like,
The whole thing, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, no, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear this. All good.
How was that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah,
Pretty straight.
also through that with servants. Yeah.
It's always good to if someone does have an idea or something to do, like just to be a little bit just to add something to the lyrics, like a different font or something behind it. It's always good to know that someone like you or Steph is always good to hear the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think it's like the fonts in particular, like we don't want to be changing all of the time, but like when we feel like is it getting a bit boring now? Like I think that's the time to change it, not just like every week have a new font.
Yeah, of course.
I think I'm pretty excited actually to do some graphic design stuff because it's something that I care a lot about. And just in terms of like proportion and white space and stuff like that and like color theory, like I really care about that stuff in my personal life. So I'm pretty excited to do some of that. And I think that generally just increases your awareness of how things look in space, which is helpful when you come to do multimedia and that kind of thing, and video camera operating and lighting, and everyone can benefit from that. So
yeah.
One thing that comes to my mind a lot is contrast. It's pointless having white on white.
Yeah.
You can't see it. So the readability of something is pretty useless unless you have contrast. But then Steph wants it also to be fairly subtle in the process as well. So we don't want bright pink with yellow background, something along those lines. So it stands out. Yes, it's
classic,
readable, but
why not?
The classic, if the way that you know you're in an old church is if they've got yellow text with a black background.
Yeah.
The black stroke. Yeah. It's like, all right, here we are.
Yes, they've achieved the first goal. It is contrast and readability, but yeah, they've dated themselves.
Yeah, and that's where like removing that element of the color, like Steph was saying, like it just makes it cleaner, even more easy to read. Like so I think simplicity goes a long way.
Really basic steps that you need to follow, isn't there? Like I go and put projectors in some old churches, like Uniting Churches and stuff, and they just started doing this stuff, and it's like us 25 years ago.
Right? Yeah.
They're doing now, and you really put that up on the screen.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll get there. Probably the last thing that I wanted to touch on was copyright, and then we might call it a night, so we don't drag it out forever. And I think we all understand that copyright is an important thing.
Yeah.
But I was chatting with Steph in the office today, and about tonight and some of the things I wanted to talk about. And she actually mentioned a church that she knows. They were a small church. They didn't display copyright in their newsletter for a poem. And it got taken to whatever authority, and they got bankrupt like within a couple of months, trying to keep themselves afloat. And that church doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
That's a pretty extreme one, but the fact is that copyright and especially like worship song copyright is like a legal requirement that we have as a worship organization, as a religious organization, I should say. So the way that works in the back end is we pay a licensing fee to CCLI, which is Christian Church Licensing Institute, maybe? I don't remember. So we pay a fee to them based on our congregation size, and we get access to sing all of the songs in the CCLI library. Now,
and for public display.
And yes, so there's various kind of things in there. So there's public display. There's the ability to print out sheet music, which is calculated in weird ways because it's digital now. Now that we've started streaming, we tacked on the live streaming license. I can't remember, a video streaming license, I think it's called. And it also
is it the CCL license? It's like a few $100 a year.
It depends on the scale of your. Yeah. I won't go into figures for us because I don't need to.
But it's not too expensive.
It's not exorbitant, no.
Yeah.
And then the key one as well is that we are allowed to perform covers of those worship songs that are in the library. So the combination of the four, we're allowed to display the lyrics. We're allowed to print out the sheet music so that we can learn the songs. We're allowed to perform the songs, and we're allowed to stream the songs. Those are the four licenses that make it possible for us to do what we do every single week. So the copyright information there, according to their documentation, must be displayed with the song at some point during the song.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the way that we've chosen to do that, and the reason I make that distinction is you'll see some people online talking, and they'll put all of their copyright information at the very end of the service on a single slide, all of their copyright. According to CCLI, you cannot do it that way.
No,
yeah, and also like half of your audience is left by then. So what's the point?
So you put it at the start of each song.
Correct, and that works well for us because we often have some kind of intro that's usually instrumental or some kind of transition piece, and then we go into the first verse. I might just make the CCLI text a little bit larger. Let's go back up to 60. Now, we would never display it this large actually that's right.
What did you say CCLI meant again?
I think it's Christian Church Licensing Institution. Don't quote me on that. Something like that.
I have it pulled up. It's Christian Copyright Licensing International.
Oh, I got two of those right.
Good on you, Tim.
Anyway.
Yeah. So there's various fields that are important.
Yeah.
In preferences, general, here we can enable or disable a copyright display. We choose to do it on the first slide. Now we have a license number. I don't know what it is for us, just because I'm at home.
Yeah.
And so this number is never going to change. That is our Nexus Church license number.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have a look at CCLI editor, I think you actually can't edit this right now in the new version of ProPresenter, this layout.
No.
But whatever. Title, and then artist specifically, and then publisher, and then copyright year, and then license number. So those are the fields that we must display for every single song.
Right.
The way that we see that in ProPresenter is by going into edit, and then it's over on the right-hand side. So this is we've got the title, we've got the publisher, we've got the year, and we've got our license number, but we don't have, remember, it's the author. We don't have that.
Artist.
Okay.
Correct. What did I say? Did I say author?
Author.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I meant artist. And the reason for that is it's actually pre-filled that information into the author field of the copyright part of the song.
Yeah.
So if we don't check this and we import See the Light for the first time, we go to play the song, and now we're putting up incomplete copyright information, which is still an infringement. It's maybe not as severe as not displaying it at all, but it is still an infringement.
Right.
So what we need to do is move that up, and straight away we get that text field showing up.
I thought the CCLI number would display the song's CCLI number, not the our number.
You would think so, but no.
No? Okay.
You would think that makes sense. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I don't know why we're not required to show that. But yeah. Yeah, they get some...
Is artist and author often different though? And do they always give you the right information?
More often than not, there is no artist, and they put all of that information in author.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you created the first slide as a blank. How did you get it to display in that first slide the CCLI information?
Oh, yeah, that was here in Presenter Preferences, Enable Copyright on the first slide.
Oh, so the minute it's the first slide, it'll put that in there. Why didn't it, when it was poured in the first place, why did it just bring it in if it was already asked to do it on the first slide?
Oh, it did. Hang on, let me delete this slide.
So it actually stuck it in on the verse slide, did it?
Yeah, it stuck it on the first slide, but it's behind the actual lyric text. So see there.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why we need to add the slide, delete the text.
Clear as mud now.
Yeah. It's just one of those little hacks we need to do to make it work properly.
Yeah.
Because you could just as easily display this in the top left or the top right or the center or wherever you want. Yeah. For the purpose of the stream, I've experimented with bringing it down to the middle center. I actually kind of really like it because it leaves all of the text in that same location.
Okay.
But yeah, whatever. That's just a contextual change.
And if we stuff up and it doesn't go out?
You're sacked.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a defensible position from my perspective. I think as long as we're making every effort that we can to display it, hopefully if they know that if we can see that there's a technical problem, hopefully we'll be okay.
I was going to say, because even when I was on, there was a technical problem and it didn't go out.
Yeah. So we just do our best, I think, is the thing with this kind of copyright stuff.
Just after you used the example of a small church going down the tube as a result of not displaying it, it starts going,
a large church going down the Google.
Hopefully, we're not in that state just yet. So here's my favorite examples, and if you've ever been on lyrics, you will know this one. Boom. That's some CCLI.
Oh yeah.
So by the time you put a video behind that, it's just impossible to. It's just overwhelming.
It's something.
So what they've got, if we read this, like it's music by Elevation. So we obviously need to fix up the artist and author. Okay, we need to fix that. But there's music by Elevation Worship Publishing, admin by Essential Music Publishing, Bethel Music Publishing, admin by Shout Music Publishing, Maverick City Publishing, admin by Heritage Music Publishing, admin by Shout Music Publishing.
Holy moly.
So here's the key ones that I would pull out of here. Elevation Worship Publishing, Bethel Music Publishing, Maverick City Music Publishing.
And ditch the admin requirements.
Ditch all of the admins. The this is my key frustration with ProPresenter 7, and hopefully that they improve this. We're still obviously quite early in the life cycle of ProPresenter 7. You can't expand these fields. So here's how I would do it. I would get rid of music by, hold down Control so you can skip the word, and then skip a few, delete. Here we go. Skip a few, delete. Just take my time making sure that I'm getting all the things out that I want. And then we'll have a look at how it looks.
Yeah, there's certainly enough room to make those boxes bigger, isn't there?
Totally.
They can.
Just
They
be
can
able
just
to drag them down.
Yeah.
They're just
Drag and
lazy,
extend.
aren't they?
Already that's looking better. I'm just going to move up.
Oh, that looks tons better.
Yeah. So with some smaller text, this will kind of flatten out a little bit, but that's much easier to handle in terms of just like an information overload perspective.
You're assuming people actually read it.
Well, and that's the thing. Like normally, no, because it's up in like if you think about my screen, like it's usually up here somewhere, But because it's on the screen that you're watching, you're interacting with that person's face. Like we are more exposed than ever right now in terms of our copyright information. And even Nathan has mentioned, oh yeah, I saw that we're displaying copyright now, and I was like, we've always been displaying copyright.
You just see your
Well,
face
you never
outwards.
looked at the screen.
It's just that you see it now because it's on the same screen, where your
It's
eyes.
in the same field.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you put it up on the back screen so that when Nathan's up the front that he would actually see that? Or
maybe we should. There's an idea. No.
No.
I'm waiting for the day we have the lower third past to Nathan copyrighted.
Yeah, that's right. Once he gets his name trademarked, we'll do that.
Yeah, put a TM
There
there.
is no other.
yeah, a certain type of bean. Yeah.
The Nathan bean.
Nathan Bean.
Yeah, so there's probably not too much more detail that I want to go into there for copyright, but the whole does go a little bit deeper. But let's not go there now. I hope that was helpful for everyone. We'll probably call it a night. Did anyone have any burning questions before we close out?
Apart from maybe seeing can you actually export the stream template or not?
Yeah, so file export. We can export themes.
Ooh.
So it looks like you can't export individual theme templates, but you can export that whole theme category by the looks of it.
Oh.
Yeah.
It looks like it can't export the whole playlist as well. I just saw.
Oh, really?
Yeah, go back up into file and export.
Presentation bundle. Yeah, what can't we do? We have to have that selected, maybe.
Weird.
Yeah, so if you select a specific playlist, then you can export the playlist. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. Right.
Yeah, so maybe that's something we can play with. What the limitations are of the free version at home. That's worth playing with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it just a trial version or a free version?
It's a version. It's a full version. What you don't get rid of unless you pay your license is the watermark.
Yeah.
Everything's watermarked.
Yeah, that's fine.
And whether it's got full CCLI integration on that version, I don't know.
Possibly wouldn't. I'll have a look in a minute.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, great. Thanks for tonight.
All right, thanks again.
Hope that was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, have good rest of the nights and good weeks.
Excellent. All right, thanks, Andy.
Thank you for tonight.
Yeah, bye. See you guys.